Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another coffee rant with Dano and Frank, our Patriot Bald Eagle. Guys, I'll tell you what. I know there have been a lot of recalls lately, and the one thing that I like to do before we discuss a lot of different recalls is make sure that we're getting the right information. So, I'm going to tell you guys what I have heard, and I'll tell you what I've read. And you can look it up for yourself because a lot of this stuff seems fishy. A lot of this seems, no pun intended, radioactive shrimp back on the menu. Or not back on the menu. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of it seems very strange. Things are being worded in ways that seem strange to me. So, I was reading a report on ABC News website, and they were talking about an expansion of the CS-137, the cesium-137, the radioactive material that has the possibility of being in some of this different shrimp. We went over the Great Value shrimp that was on recall a few days ago, and now apparently there's some Kroger ones. There's different UPC codes for the Kroger ones, and it's expanded through multiple states. But that's all the information that we can really go over, because for the websites that I have read, there's not very clear information on it yet. I feel like this is something that is getting so big that the investigation of everything, I would just, if it was me, we're not buying any frozen shrimp for a little while. We're going to wait until this all passes, because we just don't know. We just don't know. It's recall after recall after recall. Some of the wording, and you can read it from the CDC website and FDA website as well, and it seems just as confusing. So I don't know if there's an ongoing investigation, which obviously there is, right? And it's gotten to the point to where they have to go back. All the frozen shrimp that has been from Indonesia, I would be very weary of right now. There's just not enough information to really say, oh, well, don't buy this, don't buy that. I'll tell you what we're doing. We're not buying any of it. None of it. No frozen shrimp. I know there's been a lot of confusion of this, rightfully so, because you go and you look this stuff up, and it's like, well, is it the raw? Is it the peeled? Is it the cooked? It seems like that there's more to it than what we're being told. It seems like there's more to it. And to be fair, they probably don't have the information yet. And I'm glad that they're putting it out there as quick as they are, because we don't want, a boar's head incident again, or, different things that could happen because of negligence of not giving us the news of what's going on. Right? So as far as I know, there are a couple brands between Walmart and Kroger now over multiple states that are on recall due to the possibility of radioactive cesium-137 in some of these shrimp. Now, I'm telling you, I read the one that made the most sense, to be honest with you, was ABC News website. I read through multiple websites, and I try to determine whether it's even worth talking about. This is obviously, we don't want to be buying a bunch of frozen shrimp that's on recall for a possibility of radioactive material, right? Hey, I'll tell you guys, it has been a brutal week. It has been a brutal week. There's a pet recall. There's a pet recall on a certain food. And, a lot of you guys have been mentioning that. I don't know much about it. I don't know much about it because, yet again, the information is not very solid. There's been an egg recall on some Sunny something eggs, Omega eggs. I think it's Country LLC. But again, information on this is kind of flustered. Now, over the last few days, over the last week, I have not done any of these recalls in the videos. And there's a reason why. Because everything that I've been reading is very confusing. And it's probably very confusing right now. But I'm not saying any numbers. I'm just telling you what I've heard, what you guys have said, what we've talked about. So if you want to do some research, feel free to leave it down in the comments. If you want to talk about what's been on recall, they are on recall. A lot of different products. There's hundreds of products that are on recall that have been ongoing investigations for a long time, including these eggs. Okay? And this is why I didn't talk about the egg thing. Because apparently, and I don't know this for sure, okay? I don't know any of this for sure. So take this with a grain of salt, the thinnest, tiniest piece of dust grain of salt that you can. These eggs, as to where they have sell-by dates, it looked like the last date, or best if used by date, was September 17th or 18th, somewhere around there. Sell-by date of these omega-3 eggs. I can't remember. I'm not even going to mention anything from any site today. So if you can look up food recall eggs. There's all kinds of news sites. Now, I will say that as doing my normal Dano type rigorous research, I've run into all these different things. Like they talk about the salmonella, and it is due for salmonella. The salmonella outbreak and all this stuff. And then a couple different sites start talking about January. That this has been ongoing since January. That people were getting sick from this since January. Now, I don't know. I don't know. That sounds very crazy, though, when you're talking about a recall where eggs were produced near the beginning of summer. And they have sell-by dates, which I guess they're extended out. I guess they can last a lot longer than some other eggs, I guess. But they're talking about this going on like different, because they were talking about like over 100 people have been sick from this. And then I'm reading other articles where they're saying, well, that was calculated through January as well. Now, did they mean to put, it was two different sites. So I assume it's true. Did they mean July? Did they get this information from somewhere else and they're basically copy and paste on their own website? That's when I start questioning. That's when it's like, well, okay, now I haven't done much research into the pet food one. There has been I do believe it's like a natural pet food. But if you have pets, I would definitely look that up. If you are watching this right now, you could literally Google pet food recalls. Matter of fact, I will do that. However, without doing any research, without doing much research on this stuff, I'm not going to dive in and go into what it's about. Mostly just for these. I have been really busy this week too. Me and Jessica are planning a trip out of town. So I've been really busy with that as well. So, and just being upfront about all that stuff. Okay. Let's see. This is on the FDA website. So, Viva Raw issues voluntary recall of 2 lots of dog and cat foods due to salmonella and listeria contamination. The double whammy. So, if you use the Viva brand dog food, Viva brand dog and cat food, I would definitely look this up and check out the different codes and keep an eye on what's going on. Because, and when I say keep an eye, alert notifications on some of these websites so that you are aware of all these recalls. Guys, I don't go to the store anymore. Even if I'm not doing a video for the day, I have these alerts. I check for recalls every day. Every day. Before I go shopping for me and Jess. And I check everything to make sure that when I go to the store, I'm not buying a bunch of stuff that's on recall. And yes, we've been paying a little bit of attention to the frozen shrimp, But me and Jessica are on the same wavelength here that we're not going to buy any. We're not going to buy any. I don't care what it is. We're going to wait till it's out the door, out the window. It took us a year and a half to start buying Jif peanut butter again after that insane recall. You know, so I can wait. I can wait. It is what it is. My mom brought up an interesting point the other day because we were all talking about this. Is how do you know that the restaurant you go to isn't using that shrimp? I guess you just gotta hope that they've removed it, right? I mean, they probably get in a lot of trouble if they serve you radioactive shrimp, right? I don't know, guys. It really is just one after the other. One after the other. And it's hard to... It is kind of funny, too, that these last 3 recent recalls are all kind of jumbled with words. It's like they don't know what to say anymore. They're like where I am. They're like, how do I explain this? How do I explain this anymore? This is absolutely insane. And then, you know, I don't know how well these websites are doing. I don't know how many clicks they're getting going to their websites. They could be trying to beef it up some. Meaning they're putting titles. For the most part, though, you know, most of the titles seem, you know, like it's, hey, this is just information you may want to know. And just kind of throw it out there. Kind of weird just looking at this. For the dog food and cat food, salmonella and listeria? How often do you hear of both? That's negligence on 2 sides, right? So I guess the lab testing that was going on with Viva brand didn't catch that. And if the egg recall has been going on, not sure, not 100%, but the interwebs isn't either. The news sites aren't either. They're not sure. As if this has been going on through January, especially with this specific brand product. Now, it could be other ones. Lord knows we've talked about a lot of salmonella with eggs over the last couple years. But it wasn't clarified. It wasn't talked about. Therefore, I'm not going to read it. You guys can and take it for what you will. Make sure you let us know down in the comments how you feel about all this. Because, obviously, you know, that people are sick to their stomachs. With this, I know I am. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of these different news websites would probably rather be covering something else. I'm glad that they are covering a lot of this stuff. You know, it is one of 2 things. Either the FDA has gotten much better, okay? Either the FDA has gotten much better at finding these things, because it's just, it can't be a coincidence, because there have been more recalls in the last 2.5, 3 years that we've been covering on this channel than there's ever been. I remember when people were talking about like I think it was like the late or the early 50s, how there were several recalls back then and all that stuff. Yeah. But not on the massive level that it is here. The name, the numbers, right? The numbers today. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even close to equal. And when you compare the numbers and when you do the math, you realize right away that, for one, this is just downright dangerous. I mean, the radioactive shrimp, I never heard of such a thing. I'm sure most of you guys haven't either. The egg recall, I was excited to bring a little bit of good news when I was at Kroger the other day. And I was like, oh, eggs are starting to drop a little bit. What happens as soon as I got home? Egg recall. And then I started seeing things about January and how people had started getting sick back in January. And I'm like, what is this? Fake? Or is it just... Did they take this from somewhere else and it's a different name? It was supposed to be July? That begins with a J. Maybe that was it. Guys, I don't know. I am done ranting tonight, though. Also drinking the Italian coffee that I got from Home Goods. Home Goods. Kind of, almost said TJ Maxx, but kind of similar. TJ Maxx and Home Goods, owned by the same people. It's really good. It is strong. It is really strong. It almost tastes like an espresso. It kind of tastes like Cafe Bustelo. As a matter of fact, it tastes almost exactly like Cafe Bustelo. But, guys, I just wanted to mention this. I just wanted to bring this out here to your attention. You know, we reach a lot of people on this channel here. And feel free to look it up yourselves. You can literally Google food recalls, and all three of these will pop up for you on multiple different news networks. And maybe you can make a little more sense out of it than I have in tonight's video. But I'll tell you, I'm just mentioning these things that are happening right now in current events. But we're not going over the different numbers. As a matter of fact, in the future, we may go over the numbers and stuff less and less. Because the day after I put out a coffee rant, it seems like there are 10 or 12 or 20 or 50 more that happen. And I don't want you to watch and think that, oh, well, that's the only numbers. It's fine. I always say, maybe not always, take it for what you will. But I try to always say that, this could get bigger. And sure enough, this one has. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Have a great Labor Day. I almost said Memorial Day. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Get out there, have some fun. Go get you have a nice grill out. Have a good grill out with your family and friends. We went over a lot of different sales and deals at Kroger, Meijer, and Aldi is always a lot cheaper. But go out there, have some fun, enjoy yourselves, have a great Labor Day weekend, and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.